Monday, October 4th, we've got Draft Night 2 final results for the WWE. Tons of draft picks. We got some new matches for Crown Jewel. Goldberg wants to kill Bobby Lashley. Let's do this thing. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Big night in the WWE. A lot of drafting going on. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here on the Ringside Report Network. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, do the things, become a member. Shout out to the members. Appreciate you. Hit us up on Super Chat if you got a question here tonight about the WWE Draft and everything that happened on Raw. A lot of draft picks on Raw tonight. Way more than we had on SmackDown on Friday night. A lot of movement. A lot of people staying. I saw Bob Cote in the chat. He says too many people staying with their current brand. Yeah, it was a lot of this person is remaining on this show. This person will stay on this show. I'll give you a recap here of what happened on the draft and all the picks. We started the night with Becky Lynch going to Monday Night Raw, which was kind of the obvious move after Charlotte Flair, who's the Raw champion. She got moved over to SmackDown on Friday night, so you figure Becky Lynch was going to go over to Raw as she is the SmackDown champion, and of course that's what happened right to start the show. They didn't even announce it. They were doing Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville coming out to announce the draft picks. I think the room just moved. The draft picks were being made by Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. They were also making the picks on SmackDown. Who do they represent? Do they represent one brand in particular? Do they just represent the evil corporate entity that is the WWE? Do they represent Vince McMahon himself? Like, who's making these picks? Sonya's like, the Raw brand gets... And it's like, well, are you happy about this? Are you in charge of the Raw brand? I don't understand. Who's in charge of Raw? Who's in charge of SmackDown? Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville seem to be equally in charge of Raw and SmackDown. For no particular reason either. Adam Pearce just kind of became the authority figure at one point, and Sonya Deville kind of jumped in and kind of bullied her way into also being an authority figure, and now they are the authority figures on both shows. So for a draft where one brand is trying to maybe get an advantage over another brand, it doesn't really make sense to have the same people representing both brands. But hey, that's what they did. WWE does a lot of stuff that doesn't really make sense. Becky Lynch going to Raw made sense after Charlotte Flair went to SmackDown, like I said. I also predicted Becky Lynch would switch brands and Charlotte would go over to SmackDown. This is something that I predicted before the draft even happened. And, of course, with Becky goes Seth. Seth Rollins also drafted to Raw tonight. Bianca Belair drafted to Raw. Bit of a surprise there that Bianca made the move. And, of course, once Bianca made the move, her husband, Montez Ford, and his partner, Angelo Dawkins, in the Street Profits, they were going to move over to Raw, and they did. The Usos remain on SmackDown, obviously, with Roman Reigns. I don't think there was ever any doubt there. They have the whole Bloodline group that's just getting started. Bobby Lashley remains on Raw, which I think is a mistake. I think Lashley would be better suited to a new setting, some new opponents, a new spot over on SmackDown, but they keep him on Raw. I don't know what for. He's going to have this little feud with Goldberg, and then after that, what? What do you do with Bobby? He's already had his feud with Big E. He lost the title to Big E. I don't know what else you're going to do with Bobby, but he's still on Raw. Sasha Banks remains on SmackDown. Sasha Charlotte is interesting. The SmackDown women's division is who at this point? Sasha Charlotte, right? Sasha Charlotte. Guess Bayley when she comes back, but Becky, Bianca, Rhea Ripley, they're all on Raw. Seth Rollins, like I said, he went over to Raw. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs remain on SmackDown. That, I think, is a mistake. The Intercontinental Champion Nakamura remaining on SmackDown. Why? He's doing jack shit on SmackDown. Put him on Raw. What are you doing? Like, just put him on Raw. Put Damien Priest over on SmackDown. Damien Priest is the U.S. champion. Nakamura is the Intercontinental Champion. They kept them on their shows. Priest could have easily gone over to SmackDown. I think he would have done well on SmackDown. I see him as a potential challenger for Roman Reigns. Roman needs babyface challengers. Who went over to go challenge Roman Reigns on SmackDown? Any strong babyfaces go over to SmackDown to challenge Roman? Like, is Nakamura even a babyface? That guy Rick Boogs is kind of annoying, so I don't know. I think they're supposed to be babyfaces, but Nakamura, Intercontinental Champion, stays on SmackDown. Damian Priest stays on Raw. Sheamus moves to SmackDown. They might repackage him as a babyface and put him up against Roman. Like, that's a possibility. Sheamus, one of the highlights of Raw every week. Kind of disappointing that he's moving over to SmackDown. I guess he'll be one of the highlights of that show. Although Raw is so long, you need more highlights. You need better stuff. Raw, I feel like, got worse after this draft. The women's division is strong, but the men's division is pretty awful, I think. I'm still trying to figure out how everything shakes out, but it doesn't look good. AJ Styles and Omos remain on Raw. They've kept calling Omos AJ Styles' personal colossus, like AJ owns him. Yeah. Should a white Southern man own a large African man in 2021? I think it just kind of, it's a bad look when they say, oh, Omos, he's AJ Styles' personal colossus. Like, he's not, he has no mind of his own. He's just AJ Styles' guy. Obviously, Omos is AJ's goon, but you could call him his bodyguard. You could call him his goon. You could call him whatever, but it's his own personal colossus. Like, they keep saying that about him. Sounds weird. I don't like it. Of course, he'll turn on AJ at some point, and then it'll be all fine, I guess. Shayna Basler going to SmackDown. She beefs up that women's division as well. Shayna, Charlotte, Shayna, Sasha. That'll be some good stuff. Kevin Owens going to Raw. Although I don't know how long he's going to be in the WWE for, and I don't know. We'll talk about Kevin Owens. He had an interesting segment tonight that he looked like he didn't want to be there for. It looked like he wanted to do anything but be on Raw tonight. Gia Lee going to SmackDown. And if you ask yourself, who's Gia Lee? You're not alone. She's in NXT. She wrestles there, and she'll be on SmackDown at some point, I think, after Crown Jewel, because they said these new rosters don't take effect until after Crown Jewel. So I guess some of these people that are on NXT that are supposed to be called up, they're not going to be called up until after Crown Jewel. That's what it seemed like. Because none of these NXT people that they called up have shown up, right? They had the hit crew or the hit squad or the hit parade, I don't know, some sort of hit team, a group of people from NXT, and they were drafted to SmackDown, but they didn't actually show up. So I figure they'll show up down the road. Or not. Knowing the WWE, they could just be drafted and never show up because they kind of lose interest or they make other plans and they all get fired. Who knows, right? I think they'll show up on SmackDown, though. Street Profits going to Raw. Make their tag team division a little more interesting. Right now, you've got RK Bro as the tag team champions. You've got AJ and Omos as their main challenges. I guess the Street Profits coming in change things up in the Raw tag team division. Maybe they'll get a run. Viking Raiders going to SmackDown, which I think is really good for them because they were part of the 24/7 title segment tonight. And when you're part of that, you know you're on the lowest rung of WWE TV. So going to SmackDown as a refresh is a really good move. Really good move for the Viking Raiders. A lot of people missing from this list, right? Bob Cote says no mention of Asuka. No Asuka. Liv Morgan wasn't drafted. I think Jinder and his team, Veer Venus wasn't drafted. What's going on there? Angelo Contagona says, happy birthday, Dave. All the best. Thank you, Angelo. It was my birthday yesterday. And I'm still here, damn it. Where's Oscar? Harold Schneider dropping a birthday super chat. Thank you, Harold. Hope you had a great birthday on Saturday. It was on Sunday, but nevertheless, it doesn't really matter. Thank you, Harold. Appreciate it. It was a good birthday. I got a Lego Adidas Superstar box. So you got to build a shoe, basically. You're building a shoe. See this? It's like a thing. And then you open the box, and there's a ton of Lego, and you build it all up. And I started building it, and I'm here. How about that? Huh? How do you like that? It's a Adidas Superstar shoe that you build out of Lego, and then you display it. And it's pretty damn cool. This is what I like to do to relax, build Lego. It's very relaxing. Works your mind, but it's kind of quiet. It's like a puzzle, but different. So thank you for that. That was awesome. Finn Balor's going to Raw, which is good for Finn. He just lost to Roman Reigns on SmackDown as the Demon, so, he's not going to go any further on SmackDown. Put him on Raw. Ricochet has been on Main Event. He hasn't really been on Raw, but he's going to SmackDown, so that's good for him. Those are good moves. Viking Raiders, they needed a refresh to go to SmackDown. Finn Balor, he needed something else. He goes to Raw. Ricochet going to SmackDown. It could only be better for him because he's going nowhere right now on Raw. Karrion Kross stays on Raw. I think that kind of sucks for him unless they have plans. But I don't know. He wasn't on Raw tonight, right? How big could their plans be for Karrion Kross? I think SmackDown might have been a good idea for him. Maybe package him as a babyface to go up against Roman at some point. But no, he stays on Raw for no reason in particular. Maybe he'll be Big E's next challenger. I have no idea what they're going to do with Karrion Kross. I think he's in trouble. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo going to SmackDown. They just put them together as a tag team on Raw 2-3 weeks ago. Now they're going to SmackDown. I think that's good. Good for them. Raw or SmackDown, it didn't really matter. Alexa Bliss stays on Raw. All right. I mean, she's got a new set of opponents there, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, I guess. Cesaro stays on SmackDown, which I think is unfortunate for Cesaro because, he's had his match with Roman. What's he really going to do there? The ceiling has been hit for Cesaro on SmackDown. I know commentary was like, 2021 was a great year for Cesaro. 2022 is going to be the year for him. And it's like, how many times has the WWE said in the history of Cesaro's career, next year is going to be the year for Cesaro, and he's going to take over and, champion and everything. It never actually happens, though, right? So him staying on SmackDown I don't think is great for him. Carmela goes to Raw. Her boyfriend, Corey Graves, is the commentator there, so I guess that's why. Carmela is not moving the needle. Except you're talking about Corey Graves' needle. Sorry. Ridge Holland going to SmackDown. I don't know who that is. Straight up, I don't know who Ridge Holland is. He's a guy from NXT. I don't know. I don't know who he is. I don't know who Ridge Holland is. I hope he's great, but I have no idea. Sami Zayn is going to stay on SmackDown, which I don't think is great for him. Maybe Raw would have been good, but at least they're separating Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, so they're not going to be wrestling each other for the time being. I guess he can keep challenging for the Intercontinental titles, so that's kind of his gimmick, I guess. He's been here or there on SmackDown. He hasn't really been on TV that much. He's another guy where you wonder, what's the WWE thinking with this guy? Are they interested in this guy? Do they want to keep him around? And what's Sammy thinking? Does he want to stay? Because it doesn't seem like they're too high on him, right? They're not doing much with him. They're not doing much with Kevin Owens. Those two guys are really good, and WWE doesn't seem to give a shit. So there's that. And Gable Steveson drafted to Raw. That was kind of a big deal, right? Gable Steveson. He is the Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, heavyweight wrestler. But he's going back to college to continue his collegiate wrestling career. I know he signed a deal with the WWE, but he's not pro wrestling as far as I know. I think he's focused on finishing up his college wrestling career and then possibly going back to the Olympics in 4 years. I guess he could train for the Olympics and wrestle in WWE part-time, maybe? But I thought he was going to go try and win another gold medal. Because he could. But, maybe not. Maybe his plans have changed. I haven't kept up on the day-to-day of Gable Steveson, but here he is. It's WWE, that's what they showed. It was kind of like a football draft pick. They're like, oh, Gable Steveson drafted to WWE. And then they showed him hugging his parents there in a living room. Which is weird because they didn't do that with anybody else, right? But it's just like, well, he's the amateur athlete, so let's have him in his living room like a college draft. It's kind of weird. I don't know what this means that he's drafted to Raw. Is he going to show up on Raw once in a while and do a promo? Can he wrestle? Can he pro wrestle? I don't know how much pro wrestling training he's been doing because it seems like he's still very much in the amateur wrestling world. So I think it's cool that he got drafted to Raw, but I'm not really sure what that means for Gable Steveson for the WWE. We'll see. So stuff happened on Raw tonight. I think the match of the night was probably Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. We had a couple decent matches, Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch caused the disqualification. Becky was on commentary. Becky was really a big part of this match. Her commentary was very good. Becky at one point says she might not be the most flippy or the most lifty, but she is the smartest. Flippy or lifty? Bianca Belair gets the win by disqualification when Becky Lynch pulled Bianca out of the ring. Bianca hit her finishing move, the KOD, on Charlotte and had the 1-2, and then Becky pulls Bianca out of the ring, attacks Bianca a bit, hits the Bexploder on the outside, hits her rock bottom inside the ring on Bianca, and then Sasha Banks hit the ring, attacking Becky and Bianca. Sasha hit a backstabber on Becky and stood tall to close the show tonight. Building that match for Crown Jewel, Sasha versus Becky versus Bianca for the SmackDown title. A match that realistically Sasha will not win because she's still on SmackDown. Whoever wins that match has to be staying on Raw because the Raw champion has moved over to SmackDown, Charlotte Flair, right? So Bianca could realistically win the match at Crown Jewel and become the new champion. It's possible. Becky could win as well. I think those are your best bets. I really doubt Sasha wins that match. But Bianca and Charlotte did a really good job. They had a really good match. And despite the disqualification finish, I thought it was match of the night. Other matches that were in competition, you had New Day against Cedric and Shelton for no particular reason. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash beating Natty and Tamina to retain their women's tag team titles. Like, it was okay, but I thought the second best match on the show, the real match that was in competition for match of the night, was Damien Priest and Jeff Hardy for the U.S. title. Damien Priest winds up winning. I didn't love the finish of that, though. Damien Priest takes a swanton. Jeff hits his finisher, the swanton, 1-2, and then Damien kind of reverses and rolls him up with a crucifix, 1-2-3. Taking the finisher and then pinning the guy right after. I don't always love that, and the way that they did it, it wasn't that slick Like, it was kind of slow and labored. It didn't look that good. I thought the match was good, but maybe ended a little too soon. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I really liked this whole Damien Priest, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus feud. I think it's been very good. Very good. But this match, maybe not the best match of the series, but pretty damn close to being match of the night. Damien Priest retaining the U.S. title here over Jeff Hardy, I thought was a very good match, but I still thought the main event was the best match tonight. Bianca Belair getting the win by disqualification over Charlotte. Solid stuff. I don't know about you guys. Maybe somebody in the chat watching live had a different take on match of the night, but for me, it was the main event of Charlotte versus Bianca. And that was Raw. Are we done? Was that it? I guess other stuff happened on Raw. Becky Lynch did a promo. She announced that she's been drafted to Raw. She doesn't care if she's upsetting the WWE executives by spoiling the surprise. That's how the show started, with Becky Lynch just coming out. So you figure, okay, she's drafted to Raw. She talks about being better than Charlotte. Charlotte shows up and says, before Becky was Becky Two Belts, she was Becky pre-show. Charlotte says that she made Becky famous. Good stuff from Charlotte there. Good promo. Bianca Belair showed up, announced that she's been drafted to Raw. Crowd was really hot for Bianca. They were in Nashville tonight. Bianca is from Tennessee. So it's kind of like a hometown feel for Bianca. The crowd was booing Charlotte, very much behind Bianca Belair tonight. It was cool to see Bianca get that kind of reaction. Big reaction for Bianca Belair. Charlotte telling Bianca that she should be asking for her autograph and thanking her for paving the way. I thought Charlotte's promo was probably the best of the three. Charlotte was really good. And then they set up a Charlotte versus Bianca match for the main event. And then they did a bunch of draft picks during the show. The show was kind of sprinkled with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville on the stage announcing draft picks. Paul Heyman backstage with the Usos. They were happy that they were remaining on SmackDown. And at one point they're interviewed, and Heyman takes credit for them remaining on SmackDown. And the interview guy is like, well, is that how you got Brock Lesnar to be a free agent? And then the Usos look at Paul Heyman all mean, because the whole thing is Roman and the Usos suspect Heyman of still being in cahoots with Brock Lesnar, despite the fact that Brock and Roman are wrestling at Crown Jewel, and Heyman is now Roman's manager, so that's a thing, and it continued tonight, but I don't really give a shit if Paul Heyman's still with Brock Lesnar or not. I don't think he is. Like, if you're looking at this realistically, right, you're a manager in wrestling, and you can bet on one guy to help you, and I guess you get a percentage of their winnings or whatever. Wouldn't you pick Roman Reigns? Like, Brock Lesnar shows up maybe once or twice a year, if that. He's kind of towards the end of his career. Roman is in the prime of his career. He's a champion. Why would Heyman choose Brock Lesnar? I think that's kind of the bit that's lacking in this story with the Heyman and Roman and Brock. And that's really what this whole thing has been about. Like, oh, who's Paul Heyman with? And it's like, who gives a shit? Who cares? And why would Heyman choose Brock? Because they've been friends longer. I would pick Roman. Roman seems to be the newer, better horse to bet on, right? I don't know. I don't care about that. Jeff Hardy interviewed after his match with Damien Priest. He says he's going to present a new version of himself on SmackDown. I don't know what this means. Will-O-the-Wisp? Is he going to be Brother Nero? Some sort of broken Jeff? What's going to happen here? Some sort of maybe a new persona for Jeff Hardy on SmackDown? I don't know. But he said something was going to happen. And then Austin Theory shows up. Austin Theory, who was on NXT, now he's on Raw. So actually, I was wrong. There was one of the NXT guys that did show up on Raw after being drafted. I am corrected by myself. Where's my brother? He's not here to correct me. Nobody's here to correct me. But yeah, Austin Theory is the lone NXT guy that has shown up since being drafted. So I guess his roster move starts now, not after Crown Jewel. It doesn't really add up, does it? How come the roster moves take effect only after Crown Jewel? But Austin Theory's in NXT, but he shows up on Raw already? But I guess Charlotte has been drafted, but she's still showing up on Raw. I think it's a free-for-all till Crown Jewel, basically. That's what it seems like. Brock Lesnar's not the only free agent in WWE. It seems like everybody's a free agent until Crown Jewel. And then after Crown Jewel, everybody kind of has to stick to their show, right? It's very confusing. Anyways, Austin Theory says he's a big fan of Jeff Hardy's, and he was inspired by him and wants to take a selfie, and then they do. And then Austin Theory, of course, double-crosses Jeff Hardy and hits him with a clothesline, and then takes another selfie with him after he's, beaten up. Which, isn't that what Sammy Guevara was doing with Matt Hardy at one point? Didn't he beat him up and, take a selfie or something? I feel like it was very reminiscent of something that we've seen before tonight. It was weird. So Jeff Hardy may be showing up on SmackDown in a couple weeks with a new gimmick. Maybe not. I don't know. He's probably going to do this little TV feud with Austin Theory for a couple weeks. How many more weeks of this shit do we have before we get to the Crown Jewel? 2 more Raws, 2 more SmackDowns before Crown Jewel. It's on the 21st in Saudi Arabia. Have they said Saudi Arabia once on Raw or SmackDown while promoting Crown Jewel? I don't think they have. I feel like they're still avoiding saying Saudi Arabia. What's the matter? Are they embarrassed? Why are they embarrassed? If you can't say the name of the place that you're holding a pay-per-view, maybe you shouldn't hold a pay-per-view there. Just one man's opinion. But if you cannot bring yourself to say where you are taking your talent, where, one time you took your talent and there was maybe a hostage situation with your talent, and, they'll probably do a Dark Side of the Ring about it one time. Right? Dark Side of the Ring. The Saudi hostage situation. There was no hostage situation, pal. Shut up. If you can't say the name of the place that you're taking your guys, maybe you shouldn't take your guys there. It's crazy. It's crazy. Bob Cote saying the entire pay-per-view is being paid for with blood money. Right? It doesn't seem right. Saudi government. Ugh. Vince will take that money, though. Take that money. And you know what? You don't hear a lot of the people that own WWE stock complaining about that. You know what I'm saying? It's a business, and they're making money for their stockholders, and that's how corporate America works. WWE is not the only company taking money from Saudi Arabia. A lot of countries take money from Saudi Arabia, including our own. So, what are we going to say, right? It's not like the Canadian government doesn't sell shit to Saudi Arabia. They sell them, armored vehicles and shit. Which, I don't know, seems worse than giving them a wrestling show. I know we like to jump on the WWE for all that shit, but what about all these countries that are selling arms and all sorts of shit to Saudi Arabia? How about that? How about we start looking at that first before we go jump on Vince for making a few bucks out of a pro wrestling show? You know what I mean? Just saying. I don't think Vince should be going there, but I don't think he is the worst defender in the world when it comes to Saudi Arabia either. It's a whole other story, right? Lot of money. And, they'll give it to you to pay for your silence or your wrestling or your armored cars or whatever you got. Whatever you got, baby! I'll take some money, Saudis. Give me some money, and then, I won't talk shit about you ever again. It's going to cost you, but, you get another one on your side. Riddle and Randy Orton are interviewed backstage. Riddle asks Randy if that's a snake in his pocket or is he as happy as Riddle is that they're back together. What's the nature of the relationship between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle? Because at first I thought that they were just friends, but Riddle seems to be in love with Randy Orton, right? Randy can hit him with the RKO, and Riddle's like, it's fine. The way Riddle just looks at Randy Riddle talked about how good Randy was looking after his vacation. He's asking Randy about his penis, right? Is that a snake in your pocket, or are you as happy as I am, Randy? What kind of comment is that? Hey, Randy, can't help but notice your cock. Hey, what? Does Riddle have a crush on Randy? Is this now the storyline of RK Bro? I mean, it was just a weird backstage promo. They made Riddle seem like he didn't just like Randy. He didn't just admire Randy. He loves Randy. And that's fine. But I don't think that's the story WWE's trying to convey. But why is, would you say that to a male friend after not seeing him, if you're a heterosexual male, I as a heterosexual male, after seeing one of my friends, would not say he wasn't joking when he said that. He said it in a legitimate way. He was like, Randy, is that a snake in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? I wouldn't say that to one of my friends. Because I wouldn't assume that after not seeing one of my male friends for a few, weeks or months or whatever, that when they saw me again, that they would be erect. And if they were erect, I would wonder why. I'd be like, why are you erect? There's no sexual situation happening here. What's going on here? AJ? Why do you have a boner, AJ? What's the matter with you? What's going on here, Johnny? Imagine if I saw Johnny North and he shows up and I'm like, hey, Johnny, is that a snake in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? He'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dave? Ridiculous. What the fuck was Riddle saying tonight? I can't believe that Riddle is making me sit here talk about Randy Orton's penis. The goddamn Viper. It's fucking weird. Randy wants a one-on-one match with Omos. I could see AJ Styles talking about Omos's penis, because Omos is like a huge guy. I mean, if it's in proportion, it's got to be like the size of my arm, right? I mean, Omos is like 7 feet tall. All right. Too much penis talk. Shayna Basler beats Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke was not drafted tonight, by the way. I think she's still on Raw, but no one cares. She wasn't drafted. Shayna makes Dana tap out to the Karafuda clutch submission, and then she attacked Dana after the match. She goes to do the arm-breaking thing on Dana, but Doudrop shows up and makes the save, just staring down Shayna. Shayna goes to leave, hits a forearm on Doudrop's back, and Doudrop is just like, huh? No sells it. Usually Shayna hits a forearm on your back, you drop to your knees, you fall down, you take a bump. Doudrop is just like, huh? And she looked at Shayna like, that's all you got? And Shayna looked a little scared and she backed up. Doudrop versus Shayna? But was Doudrop drafted? Doudrop drafted? Shayna was drafted to SmackDown, right? I don't recall seeing a draft for Doudrop tonight, but maybe on SmackDown she was drafted. I feel like she was, but I don't know. What show is Doudrop on? That's a legit question I'm asking. Does anybody know what show Doudrop is on? Did she get drafted somewhere? Oh, Liv Morgan got drafted to Raw on Raw Talk tonight. There's breaking news. I'm sure you're all very excited about that. Where, I don't know, maybe Doudrop's on SmackDown, but if she's not on SmackDown, like, what the fuck? Why did Shayna start a thing with Doudrop if Doudrop isn't going to SmackDown with Shayna? Shayna got moved over to SmackDown, but I don't know about Doudrop. I got no info on where Doudrop is. Was Doudrop drafted? I have no idea. I assume she's going to SmackDown, but I don't really know. I had a bunch of notes, and I'm looking through my notes right now, but I don't see anything on Doudrop. Looking at my SmackDown notes. Keith Lee going to Raw. Hit Row is the team. They got moved to SmackDown. But I don't know where Doudrop is. I assume she's going to SmackDown. I don't think it really matters, quite frankly. I think I'm spending way too much time wondering what happens to Doudrop. But I did like the little spot she had with Shayna tonight. Shayna looked good. Doudrop looked good. Shayna's always, she looked really strong and just dominant against Dana. I like the solo Shayna. I hope that they do something with her. She's super talented. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo beat Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. Humberto smashed Ali's head into the ring post when the ref wasn't looking. A little heel move. I was wondering if Humberto and Angel were heels or baby faces. Turns out they're heels because they cheated to win there, and Garza got the pinfall on Ali. So that happened. All right, those guys going to SmackDown, Humberto and Angel Garza. I think Mansoor and Ali are staying on Raw, but they're less important than Doudrop somehow. Angelo's telling me that Doudrop is still on Raw. Well, what the fuck then? If Shayna got drafted to SmackDown, why would you start a thing with Doudrop on Raw tonight? Was that just a one and done to make Doudrop look strong? Is Doudrop just a babyface starting a tag team with Dana Brooke? Was that what we were supposed to understand there? Doudrop saved Dana and now they're going to be a team? Like, is that the deal? I don't understand. I like the idea of Doudrop versus Shayna. I thought that was going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be more picks, I think. They're going to keep drafting people. Like I said, Liv Morgan's been drafted on Raw Talk. And they might even draft more people on The Bump or whatever, some of those shows. They'll keep drafting people. Big E cut an in-ring promo. He talked about Kofi and Woods going to SmackDown and how it's been a tough year. How for the second time in a year, his guys get drafted to a different show. First, Big E was drafted to SmackDown and Kofi and Woods were drafted to Raw. And now Big E goes to Raw and Kofi and Woods drafted to SmackDown. Big E talks about becoming the WWE champion, and then he talks about Drew McIntyre and invites him into the ring. Drew shows up with a sword. I don't know about you, but if I'm standing in a ring and a giant man, as well, Drew McIntyre's pretty big, and he shows up with a sword, I might roll out of the ring and get a steel chair or something just to be safe. I mean, you're talking about having a WWE title match. You call another wrestler out. It's a lot of trust for Big E to have in Drew McIntyre to not use the sword. It's kind of surprising, too, that Drew McIntyre walks around with a giant sword and he's never used it. Guys take chairs, things you're supposed to sit on. They use those things as weapons. Drew McIntyre takes a sword, which is a weapon, and never uses it. Obviously, it's kind of tough to use a sword as a weapon in wrestling because, you could kill somebody. So Drew just comes over with a sword. He puts Big E over in his promo, congratulates him for becoming WWE Champion, shakes his hand, and then he challenges him to a WWE title match. And then Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode show up, and you're like, okay, why? I guess we're going to have a tag team match here, guys. But Dolph actually talks for a while, and it was a very good promo from Dolph Ziggler. He says, Big E should owe him thanks, a debt of gratitude for bringing him up to the main roster, for helping him out, showing clips of himself and Big E back in 2013 with Dolph Ziggler as a world champion and Big E as his bodyguard. He was Big E Langston back then. They even showed a clip of Dolph and Big E as a tag team, and Big E in the ring beating up Kofi Kingston. So Dolph was Big E's friend before Kofi was. What they didn't show was AJ Lee. And you can understand why. AJ Lee was the third member of that little group. It was Dolph, Big E, and AJ. They showed a bunch of highlights, but they were very clever in editing out any images of AJ Lee there. AJ, of course, is the wife of CM Punk, former WWE Women's Champion. She was a great wrestler in her own right. She is retired. WWE, of course, will not acknowledge her because she's married to CM Punk. That's really it, which is petty. So they showed again how petty they were in that little segment, but nevertheless, despite the WWE's pettiness, Dolph Ziggler still killed it in that promo. Really able to talk, and it seemed natural, and it seemed like he was, given some leeway with what he was able to say. Dolph says without him, there's no New Day, there's no Money in the Bank cash-in. Xavier Woods probably isn't even born, which I thought was a good line. Dolph talked about Drew McIntyre as well and how he was nowhere a few years ago, and Dolph brought him back out of obscurity. And then Dolph starts showing clips of Drew and Dolph as a tag team in 2018. They were the Raw Tag Team Champions. And Dolph is like, I want you guys to thank me. I want you guys to, he didn't say acknowledge me, but that's kind of what he was saying, He couldn't say acknowledge me because then Roman would get mad, he'd complain, and Dolph would be in trouble. But Dolph wanted to be thanked. Even Bobby Roode cut a promo. Talked about how they call him Big Bob. That was pretty good. Forget Big E, he is Big Bob. Fans should have started chanting Big Bob there. I don't know. They missed the boat. Big E and Drew McIntyre are not feeling very thankful. They do want a match. They want a match against these two heels who dared to remind them that they were very helpful in the past. I like Dolph Ziggler's past being brought up. I think it showed a different element of Dolph Ziggler. So I like that. Angelo telling me that they split up Shanky and Veer. Did they really? They split up Veer and Shanky? Did Jinder go with... Where's Jinder? With Shanky, I'm guessing, because Veer could be on his own. Veer's fantastic. I don't know. I'm a big Veer fan. As we all know, Veer Venus, I think he's fantastic. He's the man. Big E and Drew McIntyre beat Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode by pinfall. Drew tags himself in to the match. hits the Claymore on Dolph for the pinfall. Biggie then hit the big ending on Rood to kind of one-up Drew. And then Biggie tells Drew that they can wrestle each other at Crown Jewel for the WWE Championship. So that was a match that's made pretty much official tonight. It will be Biggie defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre at Crown Jewel. Kind of surprised Drew. Is he moving? Did Drew get drafted to Raw or to SmackDown? Did he move? I thought he moved on SmackDown, possibly. Yeah, he's going to SmackDown. So, Drew McIntyre here is going to drop a win. He's going to lose to Big E at Crown Jewel on the way out of the Raw brand, going over to SmackDown. The former Raw champ is going to put over the new Raw champ at Crown Jewel and then go over to SmackDown. And he'll be a good babyface challenge for Roman Reigns. Probably sooner rather than later, right? Drew and Roman is going to happen for the Universal title. At some point, I'd say by Royal Rumble. It might be the Royal Rumble match. They could push it all the way to the Rumble. Survivor Series will be like a Big E versus Roman match. Brand versus brand type of thing. They've already set that up. Survivor Series is November. That's the next pay-per-view after Crown Jewel. Then you've got something in December, maybe TLC or something like that. And then January, you've got the Rumble. So I could see them doing Drew versus Roman for the title at the Rumble. Makes sense, right? Makes a lot of sense. WWE's not that hard to predict. I predicted most of the draft picks here. Did not predict Dolph Ziggler would have such a good promo tonight. That was a nice little surprise. Reginald sees Adam Pearce backstage. He says, "Oh, Adam Pearce, you wanted to talk to me about the draft?" Adam Pearce is like, "I don't know what you're talking about." "It was a trap, Reginald! Watch out!" The Viking Raiders stand in Reggie's way, stop him from escaping. Viking Raiders, again, like part of the 24/7 title job mob is not good for them. R-Truth tries to get Reggie. Reggie escapes. Drew Gulak is there. Jackson Riker, Drake Maverick. Reggie does eventually escape. He runs into Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, but they're not interested in the 24/7 title because they're not total jobbers. Although I think at one point, wasn't Apollo Crews part of the job mob before he discovered this new accent and Commander Aziz? I'm pretty sure he was chasing the 24/7 title at one point in his career, but not anymore. He's been Intercontinental Champion now. He's too big for that. Yeah, that happened. Kevin Owens comes to the ring, and while Kevin Owens is coming to the ring, the commentary team is talking about how Miz is on Dancing with the Stars and how you can vote for Miz on Dancing with the Stars. And it's too bad that Miz isn't on Raw, because if Miz was there, we could watch Miz TV instead of the Kevin Owens show. And nobody wants to see the Kevin Owens show. We'd much rather see Miz TV, which is debatable. I think I'd rather see the Kevin Owens show. I feel like the Kevin Owens show historically has been better than Miz TV. Just that one Kevin Owens show with Chris Jericho where he turned on Jericho, it's probably better than anything Miz has ever done in his entire career. So, you know, I'm going to disagree with the commentary team there. Maybe it was just Graves. I don't know. He was talking a lot. Owens didn't seem too happy with being there. Akira Tozawa interrupted him. Tozawa says, I don't want to fight you, Kevin Owens. I want Reginald for the 24/7 title. And then Kevin Owens hits Tozawa with a stunner and leaves in disgust. Like, he just kind of looked around like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Why are we doing this? There's been different reports that Kevin Owens' contract is going to run out at some point in the next, few months. I wouldn't be surprised to see him jump ship to AEW. He's friends with the Bucks. He's friends with Adam Cole. He's been teasing it on Twitter. I feel like he's gone. he does not seem very excited about being on TV. And, I mean, can you blame him? What did they do with him tonight? He comes out. He says nothing. He hits Tozawa with a stunner and he leaves. And that was it. Not great. And what does that mean? Is he feuding with Tozawa? No. Last week it was Keith Lee beating up Tozawa a bit. Keith Lee's not on TV this week. This week it's Kevin Owens beating up Tozawa and, who knows. I don't have high hopes for Kevin Owens on Raw. I think he probably is going to leave WWE. I really do. It seems like it's about time. WWE doesn't seem to be doing much with him, and I don't know, the writing's on the wall. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash beat Natty and Tamina in a rematch for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Nikki got the pin on Tamina after Rhea hit the Riptide and then picked Nikki up on her shoulders, and Nikki did a splash off Rhea's shoulders for the win there for the team. So I think that's probably it for Natty and Tamina. Will they remain a tag team? Who knows? Who knows? Goldberg cuts an in-ring promo, which was interesting. Talking about what Bobby Lashley did to his son at SummerSlam. Goldberg calls out Bobby. Bobby Lashley comes out. He says, "Look what happened to your son, Goldberg. It was a misunderstanding. And if you want a match, I'll give it to you at Crown Jewel," which seemed like the match was going to happen, right? Seemed obvious. Crown Jewel. Bobby says it has to be no holds barred, though. No holds barred match. Goldberg likes it because he says that gives him a license to kill. Goldberg out to kill Bobby Lashley. Likes the no holds barred stipulation because he says, according to Goldberg's quote, "It gives me a license to kill." Okay. All right, Bill. Kill Bill. Goldberg says that he is going to be apologizing to Bobby Lashley's children because he is going to leave Bobby Lashley's lifeless body in the ring gasping for air. In every line of Goldberg's promo, he was threatening Bobby's life. He says, license to kill. I'm going to leave your lifeless body gasping for air. And then he tops it off with, "You're next, and you're dead." Just in case you didn't get the point that Goldberg was trying to hammer home, he intends to murder Bobby Lashley in Saudi Arabia and leave him there, which I think is legal in Saudi Arabia. So, fair play. Smart move, Bill. Smart move. Goldberg says, "You're next and you're dead." So many threats on Bobby Lashley's life in this promo. 3 of them by my count. Kind of crazy. License to kill. Says he'll apologize to Bobby's kids for leaving his lifeless body gasping for air in the ring. You're next, and you're dead. Couldn't just leave it at license to kill and lifeless body. He couldn't just say, "You're next." He had to say, "You know what? And you're dead. Don't forget, I intend to murder you, Bobby Lashley." Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, who are back with Bobby Lashley for no reason in particular other than MVP is injured for real, so he can't be with Bobby, so Bobby needs backup. Shelton and Cedric jump Goldberg. Shelton takes a spear. And then Shelton and Cedric have to wrestle the New Day, and of course they lose. Woods hits his springboard elbow drop for the pin on Cedric. Not a double team move from New Day, just a solo 1, 2, 3 from Xavier Woods, which I like very much because we have the King of the Ring tournament coming up on Friday night. The tournament will start Friday and I think finish up next Monday on Raw, although it's not clear. We don't know who the participants are. They're doing a King of the Ring and a Queen's Crown tournament on the women's side. Woods getting the win with a solo finishing move, and then yelling at the camera, crown me, crown me. Woods wants to be king of the ring. This has been a thing in Woods' career, in Woods' life, many interviews and promos for years now. He's talked about his dream to become king of the ring. I feel like it's his time. Make Woods king of the ring. I really hope that they do. Street Profits came out after the match for some reason. They cut a promo about the New Day and how they have a new Netflix movie with The Undertaker, and then they all celebrate with like a drink and Kofi dances. It was odd. I guess they're friends. It was very weird. I don't know why Street Profits had to come out there. I guess to say, hey, New Day's going to SmackDown, but don't worry, we're on Raw now. All right. And then we had the main event, and that was Raw. Main event I thought was match of the night, Bianca versus Charlotte. I'd watch that over and again. I would like to see them wrestle more than once here. I'd like to see more of Bianca versus Charlotte, and I think we're going to have to wait, right? Because Bianca is on Raw now and Charlotte's on SmackDown. This was like two ships passing in the night. Like, we're not going to see this maybe ever again. We'll probably see it again down the road, but probably not for a while. Unless Bianca becomes the champion at Crown Jewel, and then they do Bianca versus Charlotte for either both belts or just, Bianca versus Charlotte at Survivor Series, brand versus brand, right? Charlotte as the Raw champion, Bianca as the SmackDown champion. They'll probably swap belts because they're on, the wrong shows for their belts. And then you have a one-on-one match at Survivor Series. It could happen. It could happen. I wouldn't mind because I really liked what I saw from Bianca and Charlotte, and I wouldn't mind seeing them wrestle a couple more times. I think it would be good. So Biggie versus Drew McIntyre for the Crown Jewel event for the WWE Championship is official. And Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley in a no-holds-barred match at Crown Jewel is also official. So 2 matches made for Crown Jewel and a ton of draft picks. Oh, we got the whole roster here. So on SmackDown, we've got... Is this official here? I think this is official. This is sent to me by Angelo. Thank you, Angelo, for sending this to me here. Let's show this to you. Look at that. The draft picks. So Raw's got Aaliyah, Angel Garza, Ashanti the Adonis. I have no idea who that is. B-Fab. Who's that? Cesaro, Charlotte Flair, Drew Gulak, Gaba Gulak, Drew McIntyre. 2 Drews. Too many Drews. Call him Gaba Gulak. Eric of the Viking Raiders. Happy Corbin. Humberto Carrillo. Isaiah Swerve Scott. Ivar of the Vikings. Jeff Hardy. Jey Uso. Jimmy Uso. Jinder Mahal, King Nakamura, Kofi Kingston, Mace, but not T-Bar. I think T-Bar's on Raw. Madcap Moss, who's Riddick Moss, Mansoor, Mustafa Ali, Naomi, Natalia, Rick Boogs, Ricochet, Ridge Holland, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Sasha Banks, Shanky. So we got Jinder, Shanky, I don't see Veer. Shayna, Sheamus, Shotzi, Tony Storm, Top Dollar, Xavier Woods, and Gia Lee. So that is the SmackDown brand over on Raw. Taking a look here, AJ Styles, Akira Tozawa, Alexa Bliss, Angelo Dawkins, Apollo Crews, Austin Theory, Becky, Bianca, Bobby, Carmella, Cedric, Gable. Oh, Doudrop is on Raw. Yeah, that's weird. Commander, Damien Priest, Dana Brooke, Dolph Ziggler, Dominic Mysterio, Doudrop, Drake Maverick, Edge, Finn, Gable Steveson, Jackson Riker, John Morrison, Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Kevin Owens, Liv Morgan, Mia Yim, Montez, MVP, Nia, Nikki Ash, Omos, Otis, Truth, Orton, Reggie, Ray, Rhea, Riddle, Bobby Roode, Seth, Shelton, T-Bar, Tamina, Tegan Nox, Miz, Veer Venus, and Zelina Vega. Thank you, Angelo, for sending that to me. Veer Venus by himself. He doesn't have Shanky or Jinder to hang out with anymore. Man. What's he going to do? Also, Seth Rollins cut a promo on Raw. I don't think I talked about Seth Rollins' promo. I mean, it wasn't that great. He's dressed kind of like Becky Lynch. Have you noticed that? He's got the same sunglasses, kind of a big coat, kind of dressed like Becky. Calling himself the Drip God. Didn't Johnny Morrison take that gimmick already? Wasn't he Johnny Drip Drip? But now he's kind of not on TV anymore, so Seth can take that gimmick now, the Drip God. A lot of drip talk. Yeah, Seth's promo was not that great. It was a little weird. He was saying baby a lot. He was kind of like talking a bit like Adam Cole and Kenny Omega. Is he doing like a cosplay of Becky Lynch but trying to be like Adam Cole and Kenny Omega? It was a weird promo from Seth tonight. Seemed like he's just trying to be something else. I don't know what he's trying, but he's trying all sorts of different shit. I don't know if any of it is working. All right. That was Raw tonight. It was a decent episode of Raw. It wasn't great. Wasn't terrible. A lot of moving parts, right? A lot of draft picks. Tons of draft picks tonight on Raw. Tons. And we just saw the new rosters. All sorts of movement. Match of the night. Got to be the main event. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair. Crowd was really hot for Bianca. SmackDown this week is going to be in San Jose, California. Would be a great time for San Jose's own Bayley to make her return, although I think she's still hurt. Maybe not. Maybe she could come back and win the Queen's Crown tournament. We have no idea who's in these tournaments. A women's and a men's tournament. We don't know how many people are in these things. We have no idea. Doubt the WWE knows. But they're going to happen, and it's going to start Friday night on SmackDown, and I'll be back here after SmackDown to recap the whole thing. I'll also be back here after Dynamite on Wednesday. Oh, yeah, Bayley wasn't drafted. Angelo says Bayley tweeted out that she's a free agent. I don't know about that. Maybe she's just still on SmackDown? I don't know. It's weird that Bayley and Asuka didn't get drafted, right? I guess because they're both injured, they don't get drafted, and we just kind of see them show up whenever. I think that's kind of the deal. If you're hurt, you don't get drafted. But isn't Nia Jax hurt? She got drafted. It's kind of weird, right? But I guess you don't draft them, and then you figure out where they're going to show up when they're healed up, and then you can bring them onto whatever show, and it'll be a surprise. It's not the worst move to not draft them. Like if you draft Asuka and you're like, yeah, Asuka's going to be on Raw. It's like, okay, well, you just wait. At some point, Asuka will show up on Raw. But if Asuka just shows up on Raw, it's more of a surprise. It's better. Same with Bayley, you know, whether she's on Raw or SmackDown. Looking at the rosters, I'd put her on Raw. I'd put Asuka on SmackDown, I think. Maybe on, I don't know. Maybe SmackDown, but I feel like Asuka, she got Charlotte Flair over there on SmackDown. Shayna. There's a lot of stuff that Asuka's kind of already done. Asuka Becky could be interesting. Asuka's done a lot in WWE. I don't know. I am not sure. I think you could put Asuka on either brand and she'd be really good. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank Harold Schneider. You are the Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you, Harold. Thank you to all the members for supporting. Thank you for the kind words there, Bob. Big Bob Burgers. Big Bob, I like that. Angelo Contagonis, thank you for supporting the channel as you always do. Thank you to the members checking in. Don't forget to become a member like Angelo and Harold. Join! Franco316, he joined. He knows what's up. Join. Click that join button right beneath me if you are watching us on a desktop. If you are not, you're watching us on your phone or something like that, you can just go to join.ringsidereport.net. Join.ringsidereport.net. And you can join the YouTube channel. We appreciate you supporting the channel. Just like Angelo did, dropping the Super Chat to become the Super Chat leader. Once again. I watched the episode of CM Punk on sneaker shopping. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show, Sneaker Shopping.
Super Chat.
It's a YouTube show on Complex. Punk is the only guy I've ever seen on that sneaker shopping show who really didn't have much to say about sneakers. And then when it came time to actually buy sneakers, he bought a couple pairs, but he was like really worried about spending so much on sneakers, and he spent just under $2,000 on sneakers, which is a lot of money, you know, for sure. But people on that show, like, they spend thousands of dollars. I've seen people spend ridiculous amounts on sneakers on that show. I was just a little surprised that Punk was just like, I don't know, I shouldn't be spending all this money. And he got Jordan 1s. Very basic. Like, can wrestlers stop wrestling in Jordan 1s? It's too much now. Like, when people started doing it, it was kind of cool. But now every wrestler, it seems, wrestles in Jordan 1s. It's enough. Find something else. It's like played out. And of course, CM Punk has to go on sneaker shopping and buy a pair of Jordan 1s because that's what the Young Bucks wear, so I might as well do the AEW thing. And he wore them on Rampage or Dynamite a couple weeks ago. I saw him wearing them. I was like, look at Punk wearing the 1s. What is it, AEW policy? You have to wear Jordan 1s? I feel like it is. If you watch Being the Elite, the Young Bucks, they're always out, you know, wearing different ones. They made their guy Brandon Cutler wear 1s all the time. They're always wearing different Jordans, but it's mostly Jordan 1s that they're buying, and it's like, all right, I get it. You like Jordan 1s. I'm a big sneaker collector, and I don't like Jordan 1s. How about that? I don't even own a pair of 1s. Now, would I get them if I could in certain colorways? Probably. But I've owned pair of one, you know, I've had pairs of Jordan 1s in the past when they weren't so hard to get. Now it's like the hype is so crazy around Jordan 1s that, like, they're impossible to buy. But I remember a time when you could walk into a store and buy a pair of 1s because they weren't that hype and it wasn't that crazy. I've had 1s before in my life. They're not that comfortable. I don't really like wearing them. They're not the best sneaker. Like, they were designed in 1985. I like things that are more, you know, comfortable and kind of today. If I'm going to wear a pair of Jordans, it'd be like 3s or 4s or 10s. I like the 10s. I had a pair of 10s for a long time in high school that were really nice. Like, when the 10s came out, I bought them and I wore the shit out of them. I like those. I like 3s. I like 4s. But I'm not a huge fan of the 1s. Like, certain colorways are nice, you know. Some of the Travis Scott 1s are nice, I guess, but I'm not a big 1s fan. I'm more of a Yeezy guy. I have Yeezys, all the Yeezys, right? I love Yeezys. But I'm more of an Adidas guy than a Nike guy overall, but I like some Nike shit, but I'm just not a big fan of the 1s. I feel like, especially now, they're played out. Everybody's doing them. Everybody, like, if you're like, oh, I got to buy a pair of fancy sneakers, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a pair of Jordan 1s, usually. Or Yeezy 350 V2s. Everybody has a pair of V2s. Everybody has a pair of Jordan 1s. Step your shit up. I'm not into it. Get a pair of foam runners and come talk to me. Come talk to me about the comfort level and how you feel. Yeezy foam runners, I say, are the best sneaker right now that you can get. I mean, not for this weather that we're currently experiencing, but like a nice summer weather. Yeezy foam runners. They are my favorite shoe that I own. I fucking love them. All right? That's it. Enough sneaker talk. Thank you, Angelo. You're the Super Chat leader. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Lorne. Thank you, Big Bob. Thank you, Angelo. Thank you, Bob Cote. Big Bob Burgers and Big Bob Cote. So many Bobs. Thank you to everybody else. All right? Harold, all the people. Appreciate you. Yeah, I got a lot of sneaker knowledge, Bob Burgers. A lot of sneaker knowledge. It's a little bit too much. But I could do a whole show here about sneakers, but I'm not going to do that. Like, there's a reason why I got this Lego Adidas sneaker. I'm going to make a sneaker out of Lego. I can't wear them. It's just for display because I love sneakers. Look at this thing. It's awesome. All right. Dynamite after the Wednesday night. Philadelphia Dynamite this week, so that'll be fun. Dynamite coming up Wednesday night. We'll be on right after Dynamite right here on the Ringside Report Network. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll see you then.